Walterboro native and attorney Duke Buckner is currently the Republican candidate for the 6th Congressional District here in South Carolina. He faces current United States Congressman Jim Clyburn in November. Duke tells me why he's running for the seat and the issues he'll tackle if elected for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Duke Buckner, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, good morning. How are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I understand that you were born and raised in Walterboro. You're a husband, a father, and a lawyer who's currently the Republican candidate for the 6th Congressional District, which covers parts of the Low Country here. Tell me, Mr. Duke, why add Congress to your illustrious resume?
Listen, the 6th Congressional District is the poorest district in the state of South Carolina and the 7th poorest district in the country. I've lived in this area my whole life. I've seen what the policies have been, and we have been stagnant without growth and without progress. And so my goal is to bring progress and prosperity to the 6th Congressional District, which again, we have, I call them the forgotten counties of Allendale, Hampton, Bamberg, Colleton, Williamsburg, Clarendon, Calhoun, Jasper, in the quote-unquote corridor of shame, and it's been that way for the last 30 years. It's time for change.
So what has been the most important thing that has changed in your district over the past 2 years?
Well, the high gas and food prices. I mean, people are struggling. I mean, especially there are a lot of elderly in the 6th Congressional District who are on fixed incomes. And so when gas is high, food is high, and inflation and prices are high, that's really cutting into people's bottom line and making it more difficult for them to be able to make ends meet, especially those on a fixed income.
So what are the current gas prices right now in the 6th Congressional District?
Well, I think last time, I mean, it depends on whether you're using cash or a card. You know, if you're using a card, there's more money. So we're still hovering close to $4 a gallon. I know diesel is still at $5 a gallon. So,
wow.
Yes, sir.
So what is the typical income for those residents in your district?
Well, the average median income in the 6th Congressional District is $41,000 a year. The national average is $65,000. So we're $24,000 below the national average. And we have some 16 or 20,000 people driving an hour to an hour and a half to get to work every day because there are no jobs in the district. So when you look at, again, the high gas and food prices, people are really struggling right now. Quintin, things are crucial right now, and that's why we need change, and that's why I'm running.
So I know Congressman Clyburn has been in office since, I believe, 1992. How many jobs have actually been lost in the district since his time in office?
Well, I'm not sure exactly how many jobs have been lost, but I can tell you that when you ride throughout the district, you see the closed factories, you see the downtowns that have become ghost towns, in populations in counties such as Allendale and Bamberg, and folks are leaving because they can't find a job, and so they leave the district, and the population has gone down 4.4%, while the population for the state of South Carolina as a whole over the last 30 years has gained population by 44%. So, I mean, the rest of the state of the South Carolina is booming and doing well, but the 6th district, again, is stagnant and has been without progress. And it's enough is enough. I mean, folks are suffering. It's time for change.
And I want to talk to you more about that in just a second, but I want to talk to you, Mr. Duke, about some national issues, obviously, that you would tackle if you're elected to office. I want to go back to Sunday because on CNN State of the Union, Congresswoman Nancy Mace told CNN's Jake Tapper that, quote, there's going to have to be some sort of balance, unquote, when it comes to financially supporting Ukraine in their war with Russia and limiting government spending, that is. What should that balance be right now when it comes to this issue?
Well, on the issue of Ukraine, I'm not in support of any further financial aid for Ukraine. We got our own issues we need to deal with right here in the 6th Congressional District and in our country. I mean, right now, I-95 throughout the district is riddled with potholes. I mean, it needs to be widened. You go to Georgia, you go to North Carolina, you go to Florida, everybody's got 3 lanes, and we're still with 2. right through the 6th district, which again, I-95 is the most traveled interstate in the country. And in our part of I-95 through the 6th district, again, I mean, you drive, you hit a pothole, man, you're going to tear up your vehicle. So it needs to be widened and it needs to be resurfaced. Many of our schools are failing and buildings are dilapidated. So my position is let's take care of home first. Let's take care of home first. And then once we do that, we can go out and help other countries. So I would not be in support of any further financial assistance for Ukraine.
So, but what should be that balance when it comes to Ukraine right now?
Well, I mean, the Congress just approved a, I don't know, $1 billion package for Ukraine in the last Congress there, and so, you know, I'm not in support of anything further until we take care of what we need to take care of home first.
Okay, let me ask you this, and this is a hypothetical question, Mr. Duke. If the United States keeps sending money to Ukraine, then what oversight that there should be in place?
Well, I don't really want to answer any hypothetical questions, Mr. Washington. I like to deal with what the issues are currently facing us right now, which again, gas is high, food is high. We have 40-year high inflation. Our economy, I mean, we're in a recession, regardless of what the political pundits want to say. We're in a recession. We can feel it, especially in the 6th Congressional District, which again is the poorest district in South Carolina and the 7th poorest district in the country. So folks are struggling. Why, you know, people are hurting so bad. I mean, you got folks whose lights are being scheduled to be turned off, people's water getting turned off. It's time for change. I mean, and this is all self-inflicted by the Biden administration's energy policies.
And let me ask you this, Dan. How many billions of dollars in aid is enough for Ukraine?
Whatever they've approved in the last budget, the Congress approved, that's all. I'm not in favor of any further financial assistance for Ukraine. So when I get to Congress, any further financial assistance, I would not be in favor of that because I believe charity begins at home. We need to take care of home first right now. You know, you know, our quote unquote, our own house is crumbling down. And so we need to fix our own house, our own economy, get our own economy back on track. And then we can look at doing financial assistance to Ukraine. But right now, I would not be in support of that.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Duke. What is your 5-point plan for economic development in the 6th Congressional District?
Sure. Number one, this is my platform, and this is what I want to do for the 6th District in America. Number one, we need to reduce the size of government. Government has become like an insatiable beast. The more you fund it, the bigger it gets. Number two, we need to reduce the corporate tax rate. I think the Biden administration proposes that it be at 28%, which I think is astronomically too high. We need to reduce it down to 20% or lower so that we can attract businesses and bring those corporations from overseas and bring them back into the United States. Third, I'm a strong advocate for the arts and expanding arts funding so that our children, there's documented evidence that children who are involved in the arts perform better academically. And so I want to expand the arts, make sure we got piano, string, theater, visual arts, performing arts, making sure that arts is expanded on the elementary, high school level so that our children can have a way to better express themselves. And also, I want to make sure that we have vocational education because not everyone is going to college, not everyone is going in the military. We need to make sure we have trades when they graduate, such as plumbing, electrician, HVAC, cosmetology, all of those different trades so that when they graduate, they can go into the workforce and be able to be successful. And last is we want to make sure that we have clean water to drink and clean air to breathe. So I'm in favor of making sure that if there's something going on environmentally in the 6th district that's causing people to be sick or causing water not to be fresh, that we address those issues. Right there in the great city of Denmark, South Carolina, and Bamberg, they still got brown drinking water coming out of the faucet. And the same is so for those in Estill in the great county of Hampton. So, you know, this is 2022. I mean, we're not a third world country. We need to fix these issues, and that's what I'm going to do as the next congressman for the 6th district.
Now, when you talk about trades, Mr. Duke, where exactly are they right now in those middle and high schools in those particular areas that you just mentioned?
Well, I mean, we have certain trade schools, but I'm talking about bringing it into the high schools, expanding, technology centers, making sure that if someone wants to be trained in welding or trained in plumbing and HVAC and carpentry and masonry, I mean, those jobs are good paying jobs, and our students, if that's the route they want to go, they need to be prepared and trained so that when they graduate, they can go into the workforce if that's their choice.
Let me go through some other issues quickly because on Sunday, CNN State of the Union, United States Congresswoman Nancy Mace also told host Jake Tapper that if the United States House, meaning the GOP, wins the House majority, she will support House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy's strategy to refuse to lift the debt limit unless Democrats in the White House agree to spending cuts. But Mace, in that particular interview, mentioned new taxes, but there are no new taxes right now for Americans. One of the taxes, however, is a 15% tax for big corporations who reportedly pay nothing right now. How would you change that while refusing to lift the debt limit until Democrats actually agree to spending changes?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we're $30 trillion in debt, and the debt is continuing to get higher and higher. Quintin, one of the things that I would like to see is that we have a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. I think that will help us. I mean, the country needs to operate like a business. We can't continue deficit spending and expect for our debt to get lower. We're constantly spending money. We're trillions of dollars in debt. And so I would like to see a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Second, I want to make sure that, we got more coming in than we do going out. So we got to make sure that folks are paying their fair share of taxes, that, there are individuals who are not paying like they should, they need to pay. That's the bottom line. And so to answer your question, my thing would be to put forth a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. And I think that's the first step to allow the deficit spending to end. And second would be to give the president a line item veto so that he could go through the budget, he or she can go through the budget and find those areas where there's additional spending that he or she doesn't feel comfortable with and veto those things without having the whole budget package be dismissed. So line item veto, and also making sure that we have a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution.
And with that budget, let me ask you, would Social Security and Medicare be on a chopping block?
No. Let me explain the issue with Social Security and Medicare. We all know that on this current rate, it's going to run out. And so what we have to do is allow citizens who want to invest their money in the stock market have an option to be able to do that if they so choose, whether it be whatever percentage of their Social Security and Medicare that they want to invest, allow them to be able to do that by choice, not a mandate. But if a person wants to try to go after higher returns, they should be allowed to do that. And I think that's the way to be able to address the issue of Medicare and Medicaid, Social Security, not cut it, but just allow people, if they want to, invest a portion or whatever amount they so choose into the stock market so that they can try to get higher returns.
So what are those higher returns right now?
Well, right now, the stock market is not looking too good, Mr. Washington, because of the inflation and the uncertainty that has been caused by the Biden administration's energy policy. So, but, again, the market goes up, the market goes down. We're going to bounce back, but we need to make sure we have in place strong economic policies that are going to encourage economic growth and development and bring jobs back to our district. And the way to do that is not raise corporate taxes. The way to do that is to reduce corporate taxes. However, by reducing those corporate taxes, we have to make sure that those corporations who opt for the lower tax rate, that they're going to expand their operation, hire more people, come back home, and not just go out and buy a brand new yacht. If you understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what would be that lower tax cut, ideally?
Well, again, Biden administration proposals 28%. That's astronomically too high. My job or my goal would be to have that tax rate, corporate tax rate, be 20% or lower. 20% or lower. Whatever we can get done. I think the lower the tax rate, the more businesses have to expand, to hire more people, and we have to bring these corporations back to the United States and ask them to make a quality product again and not just quantity. The things that we're importing overseas, the quality of it is not good. You use it, it tears up, and we're saying, come on back home, make a quality product. We'll reduce your corporate tax rate and make made in America the standard again, instead of, again, made in China or made some other place.
Let me ask you this: what is the speed of the United States interest rate right now as far as hikes?
Well, I mean, the Federal Reserve has had to raise the interest rates a little bit in order to help stop the inflation. And but again, the folks who were in office and made these decisions, they knew. Congressman Clyburn just came on TV and said that they knew that when they passed these spending programs that it was going to cause inflation and cause prices to go up. They knew it, and they did it anyway. And so we can't have folks in Washington purposely doing things that they know are going to hurt the American people. We have to have folks in office who want to see things get better, not hurt people, but help people, because folks are struggling right now. I mean, we are really, gas is high, food is high. You go in the grocery store, eggs, everything has gone up. And again, it's directly related to the Biden administration and their policies. And so we want to make sure that, that we reduce the amount of the prices and reduce the inflation and get the economy back going so that people can work, have the money they need to take care of themselves and their families.
Well, Mr. Duke, let me ask you this then. If President Biden has caused the inflation, then why is every other country reportedly experiencing much higher inflation levels than the United States?
Well, I mean, we're the wealthiest country in the world. I mean, our economy and our GDP is far surpassed majority, if not all, the countries in the world. And so when America has issues, it affects everybody. And so right now, again, with President Biden, first thing he did when he got into office, he did a 60-day moratorium against any additional federal leases for oil and gas. He sent a message to the oil and gas industry that his administration was hostile against them. So as a result of that, the supply of oil went down. And when you have less supply and more demand, prices are going to go up. And that's exactly what we experienced. And then when the prices of gas and diesel goes up, because we're a transportation economy, everything is based on transportation. When transportation costs go up, everything goes up. And that's why we're dealing with the high gas and food prices and inflation that we're dealing with now. And so when these decisions are being made and you have information as a congressman and you know it's going to cause hurt and harm to people and you do it anyway, then American people have a serious problem with that.
Well, let me back it up. Isn't President Trump's tax cuts for the wealthy one of the biggest drivers of inflation?
As it relates to President Trump, during the time that he was in office, they passed during the Trump administration the tax cuts that actually reduced the corporate tax rate. I think he had it down to somewhere around 21%. And at that time, when we had one of the strongest economies during that time, jobs were plentiful, folks were working, and things were better economically. And then you fast forward 2 years later, and now we're in a recession, and people are struggling, and folks are hurting economically, and we're saying that, hey, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. We've got to change. If not, people are headed for economic disaster, and we've got to stop it, and we've got to stop it now. And that's what I plan to do as your congressman, is to go in and bring responsible government, which means that we have to reduce the size of government, we have to reduce the corporate tax rate, and we have to make sure that our children, because right now, educationally in the 6th Congressional District, some 60% average of the students in the county can't read on level. So education is an issue that we're going to have to address, and we need to make sure that our children are learning what they need to learn, the basics, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And then as a result of there not being jobs and the inflation and crime has gone up. And we see that all throughout the district, all throughout the country. And we need to make sure that we are supporting law enforcement, making sure that they have the tools they need to get their job done.
But let me ask you, wasn't the Trump tax cuts a part of why inflation is happening now?
No, I don't agree that the Trump tax cuts are a part of what caused inflation right now. What's caused inflation right now is the Biden administration's energy policy against the oil and gas industry. That's what's driving the inflation right now, and also the additional spending that the Biden administration has instigated and has put down on the American people. Again, Congressman Clyburn just recently said that they knew this was going to happen. When you are spending more than you have coming in, and you are putting more dollars into the economy, now you've got, again, you have more demand than you have supply. And when you have more demand than you have supply, prices are going to go up. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And everybody is feeling it. I don't care who you are. You have less money in your pocket today than you had two years ago. At 401ks, IRAs, savings accounts, everybody has gone down. And people are struggling, and they're looking to their government, they're looking to Washington to make sound economic policies in order to make things better. And that is not happening. But it will when I'm your next congressman.
And as a disclaimer, I did reach out to Congressman Clyburn's office for an interview. They said they're going to get in touch with me soon, so we hope to get Mr. Clyburn on Quintin's close-up so I can ask him those same exact questions that you're asking. But,
thank you, sir.
You're welcome. But let me ask you this, Dan. Is high employment, is that really another cause for inflation?
Yes, I mean, when you don't have a job, you can't buy anything. You can't take care of your family. And so what ends up happening is right now in the 6th Congressional District, and this really hurts my heart, we have people who are going to finance companies in order to borrow a couple $100s to buy groceries and food. And those finance companies are charging people astronomically high interest rates on a couple $100s. And that shouldn't be happening right now. Our economy should be strong. We should make sure that people have a good paying job so that they can take care of their families, buy the things that they need, and we got to get this inflation under control. And the only way to do that, again, is to bring back the economic engine of America, which is to create jobs here at home, keep the taxes down as low as we can, and help everybody with their education to improve it, make sure that our crime is under control. And when those things are in place, everybody is doing better.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Duke. Where are consumer prices rising the fastest in your district, obviously, versus wages in the 6th Congressional District?
Well, wages have remained stagnant, but prices have gone up. And so, I mean, the best example of that, again, is gas prices. I mean, that has gone up so high that people are having to make this strong decisions of whether or not they're going to put gas in their car or keep their lights on or be able to buy food or be able to buy medicine. Again, you have elderly in our district who are on fixed income. Fixed means fixed. They don't get any more money. That's it. You understand? I mean, that's it. And so they've had to make some really tough choices right now. And I believe the Biden administration have put the American people in the position where they've had to make these tough economic choices. And it's not right. It's self-inflicted. We can change it, and we will when I'm your congressman.
Let me ask you another question about the inflation. I mean, I'm looking at some houses. I'm looking right in front of me right here, and most of them are rentals. But let me ask you, is soaring rents another cause for inflation?
Yes, soaring rents, all of that. Now, all of that's part of inflation. When you, and this is my belief, Quintin.
Yes, sir.
We need to make sure that we have what we call a free market society. Free markets. The market dictates what prices should be. And anytime when you have government involved in the market, trying to manipulate the market, or trying to control the market, the results are disastrous. And I'll just give you a prime example.
Okay.
Number one, there are rent controls in place in the state of California. When you look at San Francisco and other areas, Los Angeles, they have a huge homeless problem. Why? Because when you tell developers that they can't charge but so much for rent, then what are they going to do? They're going to make less affordable housing. And when you have less affordable housing, then you're going to have more people not being able to find a place to stay. And so the government needs to stay out of the market as much as possible so that the true market can dictate the prices. And so as congressman, I'm going to be looking to try to reduce regulations, reduce the burdensome taxes, and allow the market to be free. And then we'll see prices go down. We'll see competition enter back into the marketplace. And when you have competition, that also drives the prices down. So I'm all for free markets.
And when I was in Nashville a couple of weeks ago for work, there was a big homelessness problem there, as well as other places. I went, Charlotte and Savannah as well. I was just in Savannah last week and saw some homelessness in there as well. So tell me, what exactly is your 5-point plan to end homelessness?
Well, first thing is this. We got to figure out what's causing the price to build affordable housing. What's causing it to go up? Well, materials. The price of materials have gone up. The price of labor has gone up. Unfortunately, in the 6th district, we have, and I'll be upfront, a lot of illegal aliens who are in the district, who are skilled laborers, and they're able to go to these contractors and name their price in terms of what they're going to pay in order to build a house. And so when they're naming their price, when you have tools and different parts of the things that are needed to build, prices going up, I'm talking something as simple as nails and wood and things like that, that's driving up the prices of the houses. And so the only way to get that back under control is, again, we need to make these products here at home. We need to make the nails, and we need to make the things that build houses here at home and make sure that we have them at a affordable price. And then as a result of that, we'll see the prices go down. And when the price to cost something goes down, the rent will go down as well, and we'll have more affordable housing. So we have to deal with labor, which is driving up costs, and the cost of materials. That's also driving up the costs as well.
So what is the typical rent in the 6th Congressional District?
Well, I can tell you this. I'm going to answer your question. Majority of the people in the 6th Congressional District, well, there's a large percentage of people who rent, who do not own their own home in the 6th Congressional District. So the average rent prices is somewhere between $1,200 a month. It's even higher in places like Charleston and Columbia. It's even higher than that. And so a lot of folks are priced out of the market. It's very difficult for them to be able to find affordable housing. And again, the way to reduce that is not to put a price cap, but to bring in competition, making sure that we drive down the cost of materials. And the only way to do that is not to continually import these materials, but to have these materials be made right here at home. And I believe that we can bring these corporations back home, we can make the cost of things be less expensive. And then the last thing is this: there is what we call the tiny house movement. Folks are looking at being able to do more with less. That's another thing we may need to look at, is easing some of these regulations, so allow municipalities or states or whoever to be able to have tiny house developments or tiny house subdivisions, so that more people can have a decent place to live without costing so much money.
And I have less than 5 minutes, but let me ask you this.
Yes.
If you were in Congress today, Mr. Duke, how would you pass a comprehensive, that is, immigration reform, so that employers here in the Low Country, particularly in your district, can actually hire workers they need that will actually help pay taxes and actually lift the whole entire country up?
Well, illegal aliens and our whole immigration, we're going to have to, step one, we have to secure the southern border. We have to do that, because if we don't have a border, we don't have a country. And folks who are coming over illegally, they are not respecting the laws of the country. As an attorney, I believe in the law. We have laws for a reason. And so when you circumvent the law, you're not showing respect for the country that you're coming into. So number one, we have to make sure that we secure the southern border, and we have to increase the number of work visas so that people who want to come over here and work, they have an opportunity to get those work visas and work for the amount of time that's needed and then return back to their country. Right now, it's very challenging, especially for smaller or companies or small businesses, to be able to get the work visas that they need to be able to have the folks that they need to run their operation. So I think we need to look at expanding the number of work visas so that folks who want to work, who want to come here, they can come here. But step one, secure the southern border, because right now we have some illegal aliens coming into the country. Fentanyl is an issue that is, that drug is killing people, and it's coming through the southern border, and we got to shut that down and make sure that folks who want to come here come the right way and not just come illegally. And then as a result of the open borders, which again I believe is a part of the Biden administration's policies to have, they're not trying to secure our border. And as a result of that, you have human trafficking, and that's a big issue, especially coming through I-95, right? Is right through the heart of the district. I mean, we're seeing more and more of that coming through the district, and it's because of the open border that I believe the Biden administration has an open border policy instead of doing what we can to secure it. And the numbers speak for themselves. We've had millions of illegal crossings into the southern border since Mr. Biden has took office. And we got to change those. We got to reverse those numbers.
When you talk about the human trafficking in the 6th Congressional District, how much did that increase by due to COVID?
Mr. Washington, I don't have an answer for how much human trafficking has increased because of COVID. All I know is that the numbers of human trafficking cases and that issue has become more and more prevalent in the 6th Congressional District, because law enforcement on the county level, we need to train them to be able to identify when they do a traffic stop, to be able to identify a lot of times individuals who are in that situation, they can't talk, they can't say but they're trying and crying out for help. So law enforcement needs to be able to identify these individuals and help them get out of the situation that they're in. But yes, human trafficking is an issue, and it's an issue because we have a southern border that's open instead of a secure border. We've got millions of illegal aliens in the country, and that has got to stop. And they're taking jobs. They are taking jobs that American citizens want and deserve and should have, and they're using resources from the community that American citizens should have. We need to take care home first. Like, for example, the Biden administration was sending baby infant formula to folks illegal aliens down at the border. But then our own mothers who are in the grocery stores trying to find formula, they can't find it. The shelves are empty. That's not right. Charity begins at home. We got to take care of home first. Let's take care of our own citizens. And then once we do that, then let's go and help other people. I'm not saying charity begins at home, but it doesn't end at home. It begins at home, and we make sure that we expand it to other places and other areas around the world. Because, and I'm just going to, before you ask the next question, I just got to say this one last thing.
Yes, sir.
I'm a born again believer of Jesus Christ. And the scriptures say specifically, a man that doesn't take care of his own house has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. So we got to take care of our house first. We got to take care of America first.
And I love Jesus as well. But let me go back. You want to speak of expansion? How many visas would you expand that to, as far as the situation with illegal aliens in the southern border?
Well, we would need to look at what the requests have been from the different corporations, and because everybody makes a request on how many they would need, and the federal government sets how many work visas. So we would need to look at what those numbers are, and then try to increase it incrementally so that everybody can, get some workers that they need through the work visa program and not just be totally out in the cold. So the first step would be to identify about how many more we would need, and then work towards meeting that number. That's the process, or that's how I would move forward in trying to determine that number.
3 minutes, abortion. People in the state that I talk to ask us, if a woman is forced to have a baby by the South Carolina state legislature in childbirth, should the state, in your mind, go about compensating the family for the value of that particular woman's life?
Well, that's more on a state issue, Mr. Washington. My position on abortion is simply this. I believe that life begins at conception, and we should do everything that we can to preserve life from conception unto death. However, our society has said in certain instances it's justified to take another human life, one of which is when we're a nation at war. The other issue is when you are being threatened, your life is being threatened in self-defense. The other issue is as a result of capital punishment in the most heinous of crimes, when a person has committed murder. So in those instances, our society has said that it's all right in those instances to take another human life. So the question before our country is whether or not we're going to make another justification to take a human life that is still within the womb. The Supreme Court made it clear that that is not a federal issue, and that the states should handle that. And I support that 100%. I think it's a state's issue, and I think the state should look at that issue, and the state should determine that issue. The issue of abortion has become very divisive in our country. And I think the way that we handle that, the way that we move forward as a country to address it, is I believe that we need to get all pro-life, pro-choice, pediatricians, doctors, put all the women in a room, and let's work out a policy that would be beneficial for the entire country, meaning everybody just come together and let's work out something for the entire country. And then whatever they come out with, then I believe that within a term of years, or how many years, that would be the policy that we could go forth as a country and put the issue of abortion to rest.
2 yes and no's. I have less than 20 seconds. Do you support a woman's right to partial birth abortion?
Do I support a woman's right to partial birth abortion?
Yes, sir. Yes or no? 20 seconds.
Well, I believe that life begins at conception, and that we need to do everything we can to be able to preserve life from conception unto death. I believe that in an instance where it's life or death situation, I believe that's a woman's call to make and not a man's.
Duke Buckner, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, God bless you. Thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your day, sir.
Likewise.